The greatest pitch of all time happened about 500 years ago. And here was a guy who had never sailed on a boat, had never directed a crew. He wasn't even a military leader. And he was saying that he was going to get on some boats. He was going to go across the sea, find this new world filled with treasure, and come back and give it all to the queen. And right now, that doesn't sound as crazy, but it's the equivalent of nowadays somebody coming up and telling the government and asking for a bunch of money to build this spaceship that's going to go to another planet in another galaxy and find lots of treasure and valuable things that they're going to bring back. And of course, we know that that actually came true. It was Christopher Columbus, and it's now known that he saved the Spanish crown with the treasure that he found in the New World. But what a lot of people don't know is that it took him actually 5 years since the moment he pitched that idea at the court until the time that he actually got the money. 5 years, and in those times, 5 years was way more than 5 years in our time. And one of the things that they said to him that first time is that, hey, we like your confidence, we like your ideas, not yet to the funding, but stick around because we want to stay connected with you. And it's very important because later it was found within Christopher Columbus's journals that he wrote several times that he thought that he was put on this earth to create great things, to make historical achievements. And this is a reminder and something very important that has been proven through research, which is that for an idea to spread, it has to be shared with absolute certainty. This is something that happens a lot in the investment world. We've heard Warren Buffett talking about it. We've heard Silicon Valley talking about it, which is that investors sometimes bet on the jockey and not on the horse. They bet on the person behind the idea, not necessarily in the idea. And we've also seen this, fortunately or unfortunately, a lot thanks to social media, where sometimes it seems as the loudest voice is the one that people pay attention to. People that even though what they're saying might not be true. We've seen celebrities, we've seen politicians, we've seen maybe athletes talking about as if they hold the absolute truth, and that's how the idea spreads. So what we need to do then to have our idea spread is to be as confident as possible in it. Share it as if it's the absolute truth. And this also goes in line with a lot of principles of humans. The reason behind most people liking the absolute truth is that we don't like to deal with uncertainty. Most people don't want to really analyze the world and the difficult decisions, so when somebody else can give them certainty, they'll take it. Because uncertainty for humans, most of the time, it's related to the possibility of dying. In the past, for many years, if we were uncertain about the weather, that could ruin our crops and we could die. If we were uncertain about finding animals out there when we were hunting, that also could mean that we could die. So we have this attachment of uncertainty to death that makes us uncomfortable when dealing with these situations. So that's on one hand, that's when you want to share the idea. And here's the challenge. To come up with good ideas, you need the opposite. To come up with good ideas, you need an open mind, and you need to be able to flip-flop from extremes in any area so that then the best ideas can pop up. And this also, a great example of this is also when it happens in the investment world, where, for example, in the latest crisis, when some of the investment managers were quickly able to change their perspective of what was going on, those were the ones that had the least amount of losses, because they were able to change their mind about what was going on. And the challenge here is that, again, we don't like uncertainty, so we pick some principles, we go on with those. Same in the investment world. And then we don't want to second guess ourselves because we feel that if we do so, it might be weakness. It might mean that we're not sure about what we're doing. And in reality is that we have our ego attached to our decision. So it takes that mix of almost arrogance and absolute ego to have your idea spread, and on the other hand, absolute consciousness and open-minded to every possible idea so that we can come up with the best ideas. And a couple of great resources for this is a book called Super Forecasting that talks about all of these elements of how can people basically predict the future, and how is it that having that flexible mind can help you achieve that. And for the pitching component, if you want to learn more about that, there's a great book by Robert Greene called The 48 Laws of Power, where it's just many stories about great achievers in our history that can help you then better understand how to use these elements to communicate your ideas. So to wrap it up, we learned that for an idea to spread, we have to be confident. Remind yourself, and this is going to be hard, because I know we have ethical people here and we know that the absolute truth doesn't exist, but you have to share it as if it was the absolute truth. But behind the scenes, when you're coming up with the idea, be flexible and know that the world is always changing, and we have to be able to adapt and be open to anything that happens and incorporate that into our thinking and our mental models.